Hi, everyone. Welcome to my talk. My name is Dr. Stephen Kluser. I'm an assistant professor of biology at Clayton State University in the state of Georgia in the United States. I'm here to talk a little bit about the Open Life Science program, what this program is about, what people who are interested in open science can learn about how to incorporate different aspects of open science in their work, and the ways that we can help you to actually further that knowledge to other people who are interested in collaborating with you to allow more reproducibility and transparency in research. So I'd like to take a moment just before we go to the next slide I want to thank the organizers for allowing me the chance to talk about this, and to the audience here as well, you, for watching this talk. So I hope that this is a very useful talk for you, and I'm very interested in any questions that you may have about this program. So within the past several years, at least, if not longer, there's been a kind of paradigm shift in the terms of how do we deal with the problems of transparency and reproducibility in published research. So depending on the field that you work in, what has actually been published as papers themselves is that looking at published research and people's attempt to replicate the result, the actual percentage of repeatable experiments that reproduce the result have been strikingly low, pretty low. And that is a result of several different factors. One is, for example, protocols. Protocols typically are not very detailed in a paper due to word length and so forth. So it's hard for people to replicate experiments with the exact equipment, exact reagents, if it's wet lab and so forth. If it's dry lab, computational, what about the programs that were used to make those data sets, those results? Sometimes those programs are not freely accessible to anyone who wants to use it to see if they can replicate the result. So all of those things have a big impact upon reproducibility of result. And as a result, there's a lack of transparency, and not only among scientists, but also among the public, right? Because if work cannot be reproducible, then it kind of erodes trust in the public for scientific work, because we're all about trying to find the truth of specific phenomena and be able to show a bunch of evidence that points toward the same hypothesis. So how can we begin to kind of fix these obstacles in reproducibility and transparency? That was what really drove these Open Life Science founders, Berenice, Yo, and Malvika, to come together and create an Open Life Science mentor-mentee program, and also an Open Science Ambassador program. So they're both the same program. It is here to help anybody that is interested in learning more about open science and how they can incorporate it into their work. And by going through this program, which is about 16 weeks, at the end, you graduate, you get a certificate, and you have the ability to pass on your knowledge to people around you that are also interested as well as coming back to Open Life Science to be part of the growing community. And as I've already mentioned before, with the idea of reproducibility and transparency, it's really important for the overall state of science and the belief that science can really only advance when every researcher shares their work with others. By having access to all of the reagents, all of the data, will lead us to do much better science as a result. So this cultural change requires building soft skill, leadership, vision, strategy, targeted measures, project development, transparency, accountability, trust, and confidence in a shared vision, right? Unfortunately, these soft skills, which are highly useful and transferable from academia to industry to policy and so forth, are not formally taught in academia, at least not often, right? So this puts people in science at a disadvantage and be able to not only develop a project, but be able to recruit collaborators and so forth to help them achieve the goals in a transparent manner, right? So these are the things that the Open Life Science Program wants to solve, right? To give people this knowledge so that they can actually do their research in a more open and transparent manner. All right, so if anybody with an interest in open science, whether you're a newcomer or you have already been doing open science for a while, this program will allow everyone who graduate at the end of the cohort become open science ambassador, right? To be able to be almost kind of like a lobbyist, right? But not in a negative sense, right? Be someone that really is a passionate advocate for open science in life science and so forth. But a lot of times, when we think about open science, we think about it just in terms of actual research, but that's only part of the equation. We have storing data, right? So there are open data initiatives to how do we store this data in an equitable and accessible manner, developing source code. Part of having reproducibility in any work that uses a computer program, if you have source code that's available to anyone, they can download it, compile the program themselves. They have the tool that will use to make the initial conclusion, initial data set, see if you can replicate it. You can also design hardware. So there's open source lab robotics for automation of specific lab procedures such as pipetting and so forth. Open protocol, which is going to be very important for reproducibility. Communicating results early, reviewing papers and publishing, all in an open access. Transferring skills by training, collaborating with public, welcoming contributors and maintaining, right? So these are all different aspects of open science, and particularly Open Life Science program itself. So with this mentoring and training, if you become part of this program, you'll be able to lead your projects openly, share your work effectively, and bring a culture change in your community. All right. So how does this really work? So whenever we set up a new training cohort session, right, for 16 weeks, we will have people who will apply to be part of the project leads and mentees. They're going to receive training through cohort call that introduce new topics and provide chances for discussion. They can develop their ideas through guided practice and mentorship calls with their mentors. On the other side, we have mentors, which are made up of people that already had open life science experience and or were previous participant in an earlier cohort and decided to come back as a mentor to pay it forward. So mentors help work closely with their mentees through the cohort to guide their progress. And we also have on hand experts that are not available to mentor someone, but can be called upon to join a couple of meetings to share their perspective and experiences on a particular part of open science in their field. And so occasional consulting call. Now, like as I mentioned, it's a 16-week-long mentorship and cohort-based training. So, we're going to have a meeting every other week where the cohort come together and listen to experts and speakers and discussions among themselves. You're going to have the one-on-one mentoring with your mentor, and you're also going to be able to have hands-on practice as you go through this program. So what are some of the features that you can expect to see as part of this training? So project development, what are some of the types of open software, hardware, and data storage that you can use, depending on your research? Dissemination, who do you want to recruit as collaborators? Other scientists, maybe science enthusiasts, maybe even kids in schools and so forth, open training, publication, citation output. A very big part of the OLS program is designing and empowering inclusive community. So diversity and inclusion, implicit bias, persona, and code of conduct. Talking about these issues and how we must make this a priority in any open science program and protocol that we make, so that we can make this inclusive and equitable for anyone that wants to be part of this community. At the same time, we also acknowledge that you must have self-care, right? You might be able to take care of yourself, work-life balance. So you're talking about personal ecology, mental health. There's also ally skills. So how can we be genuine ally to underrepresented groups, right? And the founders of Open Life Science actually run a separate ally skills workshop as well that is tremendously helpful for teaching people how to be genuine allies to all different types of groups of people. There's also career guidance, academic educators, industrialists, policymakers, entrepreneurs. Last but not least, one of the most critical things is exchanging ideas, but you're going to get feedback, and you can give it and you receive it, and people can help you assess your program so that it can be the best that it can be as you move forward to implement it and get it going. So I just want to kind of show several examples of some successful open science projects. They're all successful, but these are things where they have gone on to receive awards and recognition and so forth. So in this case, in the first cohort, we had a professor-student pair. So Andrew Stewart is the professor, and these are the students here. They developed open science University of Montreal. So it's an initiative selected to be part of an international program. So they're working on developing a framework for open and reproducible research practices. It's going to fundamentally change the way that scientists at University of Montreal will work, right? So this is just wonderful, cool. And with the open life science community, one thing that I have not mentioned that I should mention is an international community, right? It's not restricted to the United States. Anybody in any country that wants to be part of open life science can apply for it. And as such, sometimes you will be able to have opportunity for open life science members to meet each other, collaborate, even give talks at a conference that they are both attending, as you can see with Lena and Patricia. So meeting up at a specific conference, and really kind of collaborating together to really bring open science initiative to more people. The last one I want to kind of show here is an example of a team project. So as a result of going through the open life science training, we've had the scientists right here were able to develop the Bioinformatics Hub of Kenya. So you can see from the picture, a lot of very enthusiastic scientists have come together to create this Bioinformatics Hub in an open science initiative. So this gives you, as a participant in open life science, not only the experience in training to be an advocate for open science, but you get to have an international network of colleagues, right? So, and it's just a wonderful thing to be connected to people who share your values in science, right? Sharing the wonderful advocacy for transparency, accountability, and reproducibility, right? And you can also support scientists in other countries as well. So just one of the many things that are wonderful about this community. To kind of give a little bit brief feedback here. So for the very first cohort, a lot of the mentees or project leads were really enthusiastic about the program and how it's helped them so much and be able to figure out what they need to do to move their research forward in an open science direction, right? And as you can see here with the mentor, the program has built a strong sense of community. So this is not something where people go through the program once and you never hear from anyone ever again. That's always going to occur some of the time just because of life, right? But there is a strong current of people coming back into the community. Participants and project leads from one cohort will typically come back as mentors and experts as well to help pay it forward and to bring other people into their fields as well, right? So how do we work? Everything is used with either free materials, open source websites, and so forth in program. So weekly meeting, we use Slack and Google, GitHub to help organize everything. We use HackMD or Google Docs during meetings to have comments in real time, questions and so forth. And this is so much that we don't have time to go over here, but it's a very robust framework to ensure that everyone can communicate with each other through various ways and share a sense of community online and offline. So hopefully, as you've heard this talk, just want to kind of emphasize what you probably have already gathered about this. So with the open life sciences, we want to have trust and confidence toward each other. We want to have accountability, complementarity, and gratitude. We want to build a supportive network of friends and colleagues. And we want the culture of open life science to be a collaborative nature, right? We're not here to compete with each other. We're here to build each other up and also have transparent communication between us and with the community. So with that, I will leave it on this slide here. So we have had 3 cohorts so far. And what you can see here, people who have applied to be mentees and project leads, 146. We also have over the cohorts, 89 mentors and 165 experts. I do want to mention that it doesn't mean 89 unique people or 89 unique, 165 unique experts. There is a fair number of people in the category that have been in at least 2 cohorts, if not 3. So there's a strong sense of people coming back to invest into the community as well. And of course, we have partners over here. And I do want to point out that OLX4 is going to be starting up September 2021. So please let us know if you are interested in applying. So thank you for listening to this talk and have a wonderful day.